different TV shows. I'm not sure if everyone watches these, but hopefully y'all enjoyed them. All right, there we go. Okay, and in the meantime, Tricia, are we still waiting for everyone to submit their answers, or?
That is correct. We'll go ahead and take an extra 30 seconds. Thank you, Justin, for reaching out in the chat. Send your votes to me. Yes, that is correct. I'm filling in for Noah today. And even if you gave a speech today, you can vote for yourself if you'd like, but just be sure to clarify who is your first choice and who is your second choice. So I'll just take an extra 30 seconds while you're setting everything up. And just a little bit about table topics, as Slate mentioned earlier as the timer, you do have 1 to 2 minutes. We highly encourage you to reach that 1 minute. If you decide to go past that, you're more than welcome to. Just be aware that after the 2-minute mark, which Slate will give in the chat to everyone, you have a 30-second grace period. And so some, I don't know, maybe some tips or like strategies around it. Even if you maybe don't directly relate with the question, you can turn the question around maybe into the opposite, or to like to give your perspective on like a similar side of what the question is asking. I know sometimes it can be difficult to come up with a response, so that's just a little tip that sometimes I like to use. But I think we're good now. And Scott, I will now introduce up to the stage officially leading our table topic section, Scott Alexander.
Oh, all right. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for that, Tricia. And hey again, you guys. So for today's table topics, thought I asked some questions based on some TV shows. Now, mind you, I wish I could have done this beforehand, as far as add some pictures from the shows onto these questions. But nevertheless, I hope you all still like the questions. So here we go. All right. So first up, we got a quote from our friend Howard from The Big Bang Theory, especially after he has a meal. Good food, good friends, and sometime around midnight, heartburn that makes you pray for death. So, what was the best time you had with your friends? Where did you go, and what did you all do?
I can go ahead and take this question if no one wants to go ahead. So growing up, I didn't take too many trips or had too many sleepovers, just because with a Filipino parent who was kind of paranoid about a lot of things, and like immigrating to the US, she was just very like hesitant about a lot of things and exposing us to a lot of different things. But there was one time where we were able to go to a weekend camp trip, not necessarily camping, but a weekend like summer conference, I guess you could call it, over in North Carolina. And I remember it being a lot of fun, but particularly the ride over, because it was our first time out of Georgia. Going on a road trip, not just with the family, but we were also able to bring our friends along. Their parents allowed it to be so. So you can imagine with like middle schooler, elementary age schoolers, there was a lot of ruckus going around in that 4 or 5 hour drive, or maybe a little bit longer. My memory is not quite about the trip, the length of the trip, but from not only like watching movies, but singing songs really out loud, more so yelling songs out loud, or just doing random I Spy games. It was a really, really fun trip, and not just having to be stuck with my brother on the trip. And so when we arrived to North Carolina, when there was a bit of a break in the day, there was actually a go-kart race, a go-kart track in the campground area. And so we went and tried that out. And right now I'm a great driver. I'm a safe driver, but back then having no clue and my first time behind the pedal, it was definitely experience with no end goal in mind other than to bump everyone in their cars and trying to push them off track. But even then, even though I ended up in fourth place despite being the oldest out of the small group that we were there, it was still lots of fun because experiencing the rush of the wind at you, the freedom of you being in control of a car with almost no limits. It was lots of fun. So that North Carolina trip was definitely memorable. And on the ride back, there's a picture of all of us in a row, sleeping, tired, all on each other's shoulders. So I think for my parents, for the ride back, they were definitely glad that we expensed all of our energy. Thank you.
Okay. Great speech. Yeah, great speech right there, Tricia. And yeah, especially when it comes to grade school and middle school. Those were the days when we can be wild whenever we want it to be. All right, so let's see what we got here. Oh, let's see. Yeah, here we go. So sorry about the delay there, folks. They're new to this. All right. So next we got actually we got something from friends. I was hoping Tori would be here since she mentioned she likes Friends. Quote from Joey: "You're so far past the line. You can't even see the line. A line is a dot to you." So when did you feel your roommate or your friend crossed the line when you had an argument? So, anyone want to take this? Or?
I can take this, Scott.
Sure thing, Sourin.
Like me and my roommate, we had a very I wouldn't say distant relationship. We talked and stuff like that, but we didn't really get into many arguments, right? Because it would have been kind of weird to just start arguing, and I'm not the kind of confrontational guy to really have an argument. So if we had any things we just did passive aggressive stuff, but we didn't really hate each other. It was just about little issues. For example, he had this sunshade thing that he used to put down because he hated the sunlight. He was like a vampire and did not like being in the sun and stuff like that, right? So he would always put it down around 5 o'clock, which was okay for me because at that point it's going to be nighttime. It doesn't matter. But the problem is he never put it back up during the nighttime. So when I would wake up sometimes for school or for classes, I'd be like, is it nighttime? Wait, what time is it? And I'd start freaking out. I remember one time I did it. It was during finals. I woke up, it was pitch black. I jumped out of bed. I was so confused and dazed. And it kind of messed up with my circadian rhythm, if you feel me. And I felt that I really lost hours of my sleep and my conscious with that sunshade. So every time I stared at it, I was like, I could just cut this thing off with the scissors I have. But I knew that it probably cost him a lot of money and probably be a bad thing to do. But I had that in the back of my head until it eventually broke. I don't know, it just somehow ripped by accident, right? And it just fell down. So it was we couldn't use it anymore. So yeah, I think that is the most argument that I've ever had with my roommate. So thank you.
Nice. When especially when you mention it like that, man, did he ever did he ever go I don't like the light?
I mean, he wasn't against the light. It was just imagine it's just a beautiful day outside. You see butterflies, just people playing on the quad. Everyone's just all happy and everything. This man just takes it off and it's just pure pitch blackness, and he's just playing video games. And I'm okay, I guess this is how our room's gonna be. Not very inviting, but it'll be like that. But yeah, Scott.
Nice. Thanks, Sourin. All right, you guys. So now our next show is actually a personal favorite of mine, Seinfeld, and this is one episode where you have Elaine going to Jerry. Okay, excuse me. So what did you do last night? Nothing. I know, but what did you actually do? Literally nothing. I sat in a chair and I stared. Like Elaine, when was the last time you were at home doing nothing? What did you do to pass the time?
I can go for this one, Scott.
All right, sure thing, Slate.
So last time I did nothing. Probably this morning, probably the day before, and probably 2 months before that as well. Been doing a whole lot of nothing this downtime during summer, except for probably Toastmasters, and just this month, my summer class I started. And my worst habit, bad habit that I'll hopefully break, pass the time nothing, is I do that endless scrolling on my phone. Doesn't matter what the app is. Insert your social media name of the app, whatever the app is. I'm just scrolling. Huge time waster. So pretty much that. There's a lot of other avenues I could be doing: studying, reading a book, simply watching a show actively would be more effective use of time. But I definitely have that bad habit of sitting down, just literally doing nothing, just like that quote says. And so that's definitely a personal goal of mine. Try and limit myself. I don't see myself doing it, if I'm being quite honest, but hopefully I'll find a way. And yeah, other than that, what I would not consider useless way. I play video games as well. That's more because I play it with friends, so that's actually productive and not totally melting my brain compared to that endless scrolling where it's just, especially with all the bad news in today's world, I'm just bombarded constantly with that. Twitter, whatever, everything you see. So that's what I do to pass the time with nothing, and hopefully I won't do that in the future. Thank you, Scott.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Slate. I know what you mean as far as just scrolling on that phone, but at least with the video games, at least that says something to do with friends instead of being cooped up, you know. Yeah. Well, all right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm sure you all know this one. Game of Thrones. Now I don't know the show that well, but I think I know his name, right? Tyrion's advice to Jon Snow: never forget what you are. The rest of the world will not. Wear it like armor, and it can never be used to hurt you. So when was the time that you had to defend yourself for who you are? Oh, sure thing, Tracy.
Bonjour, les enfants. Comment ça va? Hope everybody's doing good. I'm in France right now. I'm in Paris at the riots right now. And believe it or not, I just saw my good friend Louis. We were in close propinquity to each other. And I said to myself, Louis, watch out. They're throwing stuff because we're out here protesting. All lives matter. Justin is a person. I am a person. Tricia is a person. Dr. Courtney Scott is a person. We all have rights, but they're trying to take them away from us. So we're out here in Paris, France, where it's beautiful, and all these people, except for the no air conditioning, I'm saying to myself, what am I going to do? All of the counter protesters are trying to beat us up, and they're trying to make us run away from our nice little spot where Louis and I are. But we are defending ourselves with our own guns. This is our time for Game of Thrones. I'm almost 50 years old. I've never seen not one of those TV shows that you all have just said just now. Not one. I was in the military defending this country for a long time, 21 years, probably older than all of you are. And that's okay, because when you defend something, you have honor, and you want to make sure that it's taken care of. So I defended myself then in Paris. I defended myself in the military. And my challenge to each and every one of you is to defend yourself and who you are. Defend who you are every day. Don't try to be somebody else. Don't try to be a different speaker. Don't try to be a different educator. Don't try to be a different person. Be the person that you are, because you are a person. So defend your honor, and everything will be all right. Mr. Scott Alexander, Table Topics Master.
Couldn't have said anything better myself, Tracy. I mean, that was excellent. Thank you. And on top of that, thank you very much for your service to our country. Man. Wow. All right. Here we go. All right. Now, no, surely people are familiar with this show right here, Blue Bloods, right? So here's a quote from Tom Selleck's good character, Frank Reagan. I'm going to give you the respect you don't give me. So when was the time that you had to give respect to someone even though you didn't want to? Anybody?
I can give this one a try.
Oh, sure, Courtney.
Yeah, so definitely going through school, I've had a few situations where, I didn't necessarily vibe with, supervisors or coworkers. But I definitely have learned ways to deal with that and ways to think about it and to go into those situations. I had a supervisor at my last school that I went to, and we just kind of butt heads a lot, and we didn't really get along, and I just never really felt like she respected me that much. And it made it really hard for me to want to learn and want to grow in the program. It made it really hard for me to want to, do the best I could at my job. But yeah, I mean, I just kind of learned that it's important to work with people who have different opinions than you do. It's important to be able to work with people who might not respect you, but working with them and trying your best is the only way you can really change the way that they think about you, or kind of change the way you work with that person. But I do think it's super important to learn how to work with people, despite, the situation. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I can sympathize with that right there. I mean, yeah, it's definitely not easy getting along with people, especially if they're your bosses. Yeah. Oh, well. That's pretty good, Courtney. Thank you. All right. So here we go. All right. All right. Now, moving on to let's see, Gray's Anatomy. All right. So a quote right here from Meredith Grey. You never think that the last time is the last time. You think there will be more. You think you have forever, but you don't. When did you feel that time was slipping away at a moment in your life, whether it be a job opportunity with a loved one? When did anyone feel a time like that, when time was slipping away? Oh, and also just want to point out, you guys, if y'all have already gone, if you want to go twice, no problem with that.
I can take this one.
Sure thing, Justin.
Ooh. When did it feel like time was slipping away? I'd have to say with my grandfather. I was closer to my grandfather than anyone else in my family. And around 2012, it seems to be a theme for me today. In 2012, he got some form of cancer and a couple other things. I'm not really sure what it all entailed. There's some, I'm not sure what the word is. Not amnesia, but the other thing. And that was hard because a lot of times I just kind of use him for stuff. Like he would always take me to Waffle House every week, sometimes a couple times a week. That was our thing. And then at the time I was going to a rough school, it was a residential school. And so I would only come home on weekends. I would only come home on weekends. Okay, sorry, there's thunder and it's terrifying. But he would always buy me like sodas and Skittles, and snacks and all that kind of stuff. And I really took that for granted. And he was such a great person. And there's so much that I've learned about him after he died. He died in 2012. about a week before his birthday. And that's always really stuck with me. It was just like, I never really was able to fix that. I mean, I went to the hospital and spent time with him there, but he wasn't in his right mind exactly. So it just wasn't the same. And I was just too young to understand and appreciate it. I think now I know more about him, I'd have a totally different perspective on who he was. I don't think I truly ever understood who he was until after he died. But I wish I had that chance, and that sticks with me when spending time with loved ones. So thank you so much. Back to you, Scott.
Okay. Yeah, for sure, Justin. And wow, that's really something right there, man. I'm sorry to hear about your granddad having to go through that, man. I hope he's all right now. Yeah, he definitely. Your granddad definitely sound like a good man, right? All right. Oh, here we go. Okay. All right. So how about this this TV show on Netflix, The Crown, right? Elizabeth and what have you. So here's a quote from Jackie Kennedy to Elizabeth when the Kennedys came to visit England. Yeah, one doesn't want to feel second best. Was there a time in anyone's life when you felt upstaged by someone?
As a young college student at Franklin College in Franklin, Indiana, in 1989, I felt upstaged because I felt inferior. I was acne covered. My face was full of bumps and zits. My balding spot was already pronounced. I was in close propinquity to a lot of athletes that were bigger and stronger than me, and I felt this small. There was a young lady who I fought for the attentions of, and she was very, let's just say, voluptuous. And being that I had never had any experience with any type of women in any kind of way at the time, being 18 years old, fresh out of Dayton, Ohio, I didn't know what to do, what to say. I would see her all the time, and my heart would start fluttering. As soon as I look up, there would be 2 or 3 other guys surrounding her, trying to get her attention. One particular day, the quarterback wanted her attention. And I saw him walking down the hall, and I saw her. It was sort of like a scene from Titanic. I could see them coming together in slow motion, and I wanted to be the one to not make them in close proximity. And I said, I'm going to run and get in the middle, and I'm going to talk to her first. So I went and said, hi, that's how you doing? Hi. What can I do for you? Hey, football player, come here, honey. And kissed him right in front of my face. And if you ever seen a dog with his tail between his legs and walking back towards home, that's how I felt, this tall. Fellow Toastmasters, I said to myself, I will never let someone make me feel that small again. And I said to myself that day, you know what, Tracy Baker, you're good enough. You're tall enough. You're handsome enough. You're smart enough. Whatever it is, you're enough of it for yourself. It's up to other people to decide whether or not it's enough for them. But don't ever shortchange yourself. So fellow Toastmasters, what I have done is I've adopted a mantra in life that I don't care if Michael Air Jordan, Denzel Washington, Tom Cruise came up to me and was trying to get a girl in front of me. I'm going to push them aside and get out of my way, and I'm going to go hug the girl myself. And hopefully that'll be the end of the story. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Oh yeah, I mean, awesome speech right there. Awesome speech right there, Tracy. And furthermore, I would I'd appreciate any tips myself for being for growing confidence in that department as well with dates right there. I'm saying. Okay, all right, there we go. So moving on. So before I continue, how many of you guys right here heard of this show, Stranger Things? All right, Swibs. Well, sweet, good many of you. Well, here's a quote from one of the characters on there, Jonathan. you shouldn't like things because people tell you you're supposed to. Well, based on what Jonathan said here, when did any of you guys feel pressure to do something just because someone else wanted you to do that? Any? Well, if anyone doesn't go, I'll start picking people. Y'all, just to warn. Anyone?
I can go.
Sure thing, Courtney.
So, yeah, so my grandmother passed away last August, and that was like really hard. I kind of had a similar situation to Justin where I just, she had really stopped being herself towards the end, and I never really got to say a lot of things to her and have a relationship with her. But the thing that I was pressured to do, because somebody else did, my mom gave a speech at her funeral and got on stage in front of all of my grandma's family and my family and everyone, and she gave like this super impassioned speech, basically saying that because my grandmother is Cuban and Hispanic, and because I am Latina, that I should learn Spanish and like take on that skill and continue my family's heritage. And it was a ton of pressure, and I still haven't learned Spanish. I'm not that great at learning new languages. I'm still working on English, but yeah, it was an immense amount of pressure. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And speaking of which, Courtney, I was curious since you mentioned it. When you were growing up, did your family ever speak Spanish around you? And if so, could you tell a difference between how the Cubans spoke Spanish versus how people in the States do it?
I never really noticed anything with the dialects. Was around people who spoke Mexican Spanish, and yeah, it is definitely a little bit different. But no, so the reason why I don't speak Spanish is actually pretty trifling. So my dad spoke English and my mom spoke Spanish, and he didn't want his kids speaking a language he didn't know how to speak. So that's why I don't speak Spanish. So, but yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, thank you for that, Courtney. All right. So good. Now I'm not sure who exactly said this in the show, but here's a quote from House of Cards. So when you need to describe that colleague who tries to be the boss's pet. So I'm asking to any of you guys, did you all ever had a job when you had to work with the person who was the boss's favorite? And if so, how did anyone handle it?
This is Justin. I can go for it.
Oh, sure thing, man.
So I had a job 2 summers ago at the Colorado Center of the Blind teaching high school students. And there was one staff member who was the epitome of this. The boss would invite her out on dinners with him and his fiance at the time. They would hang out, like he would never criticize her. He would always criticize us. And it was horrible. Like, so we worked 16-hour days at that job, and it was hard for sure, but she would completely abandon her students. She would just leave. We had to stay with these students in an apartment in the evenings. We would just assign students, and she would just leave her students, or she would try to, I don't know, she wouldn't help them figure out dinner. She's like, you guys are on your own, bye. And these are people that have this program trying to learn how to cook. Like, what are you doing? Nothing was ever said, nothing, but like if we did anything minor, we would get called out. So it was extremely frustrating and awful. And she treated us horribly by the end of the summer because, I don't know, she just expected us to like help her, and we did, but then like if we didn't do it perfectly, she would get really mad. So I have no idea what her deal was, but she got the job because she was his friend and she really had no business in the job. And she scared a lot of the kids and they didn't like her. So, yep. Back to you, Scott.
Here I am. Yeah, man. Man, that's so unfair, right there, man. Yeah, I'm surprised. Well, from the way how you're sounding it, I don't want to put words into your mouth, Justin, but it sounds like you were calm about it. I would have been furious over a person like that.
I don't have the energy. I was mad on the side, but I didn't have the energy to do anything about it. I was just like, whatever. Like, you're the boss's friends. If I say something, like, it's gonna come back on me. So we'll just pick up your slack. All work together.
But it's always good. Always good to remember that in the future in case they try to use that again. Yeah, bosses. Okay. Here we go. There we go. So a few weeks ago, you guys mentioned show like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Well, here's a quote from Iroh. Life happens wherever you are, whether you make it or not. So when was the time that any of y'all had to forget about an experience and move on with life? In fact, if you guys don't mind my saying this, say Lewis, if you don't mind, would you like to do this one? We haven't heard from you in a while.
I can't think of any for this one. I'll do another one.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure thing, man. Okay. In the meantime, anyone else? Or?
I can take it.
Oh, sure thing, Sourin.
So what did I have to forget and how did I overcome it? So I'm going to be honest, I don't really have many things that I've had to overcome throughout my life. I would say the biggest hurdle I've had was in high school, mostly with my grades and like trying to keep up and mostly trying to compete. So I have a brother and I always look up to him because he's always the better one, always like gets higher grades, always does this, always does that. So honestly, throughout high school, I always compared myself to him. So if there was like an opportunity for like a club positioning or anything like that, everyone would say, "Oh, he would win. Oh, he's more charismatic." So I always had that like overwhelming shadow that I had to live behind. So when I got to college, I was able to forget all that, and I really didn't have to tell anyone. Like for example, I had a twin brother that was like better than me or anything like that. Like I just could live my own life and do what I wanted. Like I could succeed on my own accords and able to gain happiness from what I did instead of what others thought of me. But that's about all I can say. Thank you.
Oh, excuse me, guys. Excuse me. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Oh, thanks for that, Sourin. And coming from someone who's never grown up with siblings, like I'll just take your word for it, man. When it comes to competing. All right, here we go. All right. So, quote from Curb Your Enthusiasm. A bit of backstory with this episode with Larry David. So he catches someone chatting with another person just to cut in line at a buffet table. And then, of course, here comes Larry catching the person out. Congratulations on a great attempt at a chat and cut. So what was the time that you saw someone doing something wrong? Did you call him or her out for it?
Can I go on this one?
Oh, sure thing, man.
In social psychology, there's a bias called the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's where basically someone thinks they know a lot, but they don't. And I guess it's a pet peeve of mine whenever someone says something that they don't know and they do show it, or you know it, or you can pick up on it. It just annoys me. I generally don't say anything, but there was some lightning. When did I call him out? Never actually called this person out, I guess you could say. Thank you.
What's going on? Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, well, well, thanks very much. Excuse me, guys. I'm slowing down. Okay. Yeah. Well, thanks very much for that, Lewis. I mean, yeah. That's always got to be annoying when you have someone who thinks they know everything, man. Yeah. Irritating. All right. So here we go. All right. So next quote from The Office, and also you guys hope you don't mind if I included a lot of questions here today. I didn't know if we were going to have a bit bigger crowd or not. So, but anyway, so from The Office, the American version, a quote from Michael Scott here. Sometimes I'll start a sentence and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way. So when did anyone have a conversation with someone that you felt was going nowhere?
I can do this one, Scott.
Sure thing, Slate.
So when did I have a conversation with someone that I thought was going nowhere? Anytime I made the horrible mistake of trying to have a conversation or argument online. So this could be anywhere from your Facebook comment to, dare I say, it's something like a Reddit forum. I go ahead and say, don't bother having an argument on the internet. It's just a point of who gets the last word and who says, no, actually I'm right because of this reason. But really, it's repeated what they said. Nothing will ever get done. So be very careful in where you post in your forums, just that it's an actual constructive environment. So I've definitely experienced conversations online where the conversation's going nowhere. We could just better off saying nothing at all, or actually maybe having a real conversation compared to sending comments back and forth. So that's definitely my advice. Again, from my earlier speech, don't scroll on your phone and don't get into needless and useless internet conversations. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you, Slate. Especially when it comes to those YouTube videos. Sometimes those are the worst, man. All right, here we go. So, quote from Liz Lemon or Tina Fey from 30 Rock. So, one of my New Year's resolutions is to say yes to love, yes to life, and yes to staying in more. So, when was the last time that anyone really stuck with their New Year's resolution? Anyone?
I can go.
Sure thing, Tricia.
So every time a new year comes along, there's that pressure to kind of like reinvent yourself, maybe from your friends or from your family, or just the general feeling with the turn of a new year. And so I found in previous years, like, I'd said something, doesn't work out, said something, and the first couple of days you feel very, very, very motivated, and I'd write down and check off, okay, I did it this day, let's move on to the next. But even then, every time, year after year, by the time February, March, about a quarter of the year is gone, that resolution is no more. But there's this one time where I found, in terms of like developing habits, since it definitely takes a little bit, starting not rather on the first day of the year, but either a month before the new year starts or a month after. And so that way, with the benefits of that, like you have a little bit of a head start of that, like getting into the New Year's resolution, or if you start the month after, you've passed the month where people are still kind of motivated but starting to die down. And then if you have an accountability buddy, then after that new year, there's still that forward momentum of sticking to something without the pressure of a New Year's resolution. And so this past February, me and a group of girls, or rather a group of girls and I, decided to hold each other accountable in working out in Ramsey, because it's not one, part of your student fees, and two, might as well make use of it while also improving and keeping up with your health. And so day in, day out, we'd hold each other accountable, even with the long days of waking up for an 8 a.m. class and different org meetings and studying for classes in between. Even if it was 8:30 at night, we'd still make the time to drive over to Ramsey and work in a quick workout there. And this was a very effective process that, one, I never really had before, other than when I used to do swimming back in high school, having that strict regimen of going day in and day out. But once quarantine hit, we were expecting to come back and, we can hold each other accountable again in person. But since now we're like all kind of separated and we can't meet together as a group, our daily check-ins of working out is slightly gone down. And even at home, I have a younger brother who's a swimmer, and he's staying kind of active, but it's hard to get in that motivated mindset when your own brother, he doesn't even try to work out, and he's also doing, again, what Slate said, that mindless scrolling. So I will definitely try again once the school year hits in August, and hopefully I can meet up again with this group of girls. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially when it comes to taking advantage of the Ramsey Center, it's a pretty good deal right there. That's good. That's good, Tricia. Thanks.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe about time, since we do have 3 evaluations. Or we can do one more if anyone would like to, but I think everyone here has gone at least once.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in that case, you guys, I think that's all I have for this afternoon. And thanks very much for having me. Thanks very much for having me as table topics today. Hope everyone liked the questions. So thank you.
Awesome. And we can also go ahead and transition into voting. I'm just about to put up what everyone talked about. If I missed one person, or if you gave a table topics, just let me know. I was kind of getting caught up in enjoying everyone's responses, so there was a time where I had to backtrack and think through, but I think I got everyone. Just as we did with the speeches, you can go ahead and send your votes to me. No need to clarify on the topic they worked on, just the person who spoke, so that will help avoid any confusion. But just go ahead and send your votes into me, being sure to specify who is your first choice and who is your second choice. And we will go ahead and take 45 seconds for that.
And Tricia, everyone who was in time except for your latest table topic.
Okay.
I neglected to give you the final warning, but it was over by about a minute.
Okay, sounds good. So just take off the last one on there. But other than that, thank you. All right, and as we're getting those votes in, I will introduce the